welcome back to the Thinking Progressive podcast. I'm your host, Ron Rivers, and this episode will explore a talk I've titled Neo-Jesus, Where Are You? It seems that whenever we look away from crisis, it reforms itself in an entirely new direction. Most recently, we see the rightful protests and riots of our oppressed Black communities and allies coming together to demand systemic justice, only to be attacked by the very law enforcement who are obligated to protect them. At a certain point, we have to admit to ourselves that our circumstances may be more than just chance. They may reflect a deeper spiritual crisis in the human experience. Where is our modern Messiah, and what would they tell us? We'll explore this topic and more. As always, if you're enjoying the Thinking Progressive podcast, please be sure to like this episode and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening to the Thinking Progressive podcast. What will it take to wrench humanity free from our perpetual cycle of crisis? Whether it's the climate catastrophe, the pandemic, or the ultra-violence and racism embedded into our law enforcement, we inhabit moments of deep struggle. We know problems and solutions, yet the oligarchs in control accelerate catastrophe in every direction for their own personal benefit. The predictable response is to burn it down. But what will rise from the ashes? Do we need a new Messiah to show us the way? Or do we already have too many and they are simply not enough? Neo-Jesus is easily interchangeable with Neo-Moses, Neo-Muhammad, Neo-Confucius, or Neo-Buddha. Neo-Jesus is also a genderless statement. Future prophecy is an opportunity available to all. The earthly descriptive of the enlightened soul matters less than their purpose and action. These were individuals seeing beyond the consciousness of an era, bringing new visions of humanity to desiring minds. If there was ever a time for divine intervention, now would be it. Why do we need Neo-Jesus? What's wrong with classic Jesus? Well, for starters, we know that the existing religions are not bringing an enlightened era to present-day humanity. There are many reasons this is true, but the best summary I've encountered comes from the philosopher Roberto Unger. He argues that the functions of religion within a society boil down to explaining three aspects of humanity: death, groundlessness, and insatiability. Death because anything that follows this experience is unknown, and ambiguity frightens us. More than death, we fear the void, an eternity all alone in awareness of nothing. What we do know about death is sad, a personal extinction, dooming the individual to inevitable obsolescence. Death is a primal fear that we inherit from our ancestors long past. Monotheistic religions attempt to circumvent this understanding with a conditional paradise. Others propose ideas such as reincarnation, or consider the experience unavoidable and a fate that should be embraced. No option is wholly adequate for modern humanity because the conditions of transcendence orbit actions and thoughts from an era long past. Groundlessness is another way of saying life is pointless, a creeping nihilism that we experience at all times, impacting some groups more than others. In Race Matters, Cornel West talks about the increasing hopelessness growing in Black communities after centuries of oppression, a statement given life with the recent and rightful protests and riots. Even if you aren't part of the oppressed class, you're probably one of the majority working a bullshit job. It's difficult to derive meaning from a life where our survival depends on doing tasks that slowly degrade our souls. Confucianism has arguably the best approach to humanizing the world. The point of life is to serve one's community, to come together for greater good. It is both a foundational tenet of the philosophy and a direct call to action for those who subscribe. Monotheist religions make service to God the point, but provide methods of doing so that are difficult to merge with modern society. Insatiability is our persistent desire for more. Wherever we are in life, it is never enough. Our institutions only exacerbate this problem. The legal arrangements that support capitalist societies are rooted in making people consume. Perpetual growth directly requires increasing wants, the result being continued unhappiness, and environmental crisis. Humanity will never lose its desire to progress, but we must decouple this aspect of ourselves from materialism. Buddhism explains how our suffering comes from desire. To eliminate suffering is to let go of want. Of all the antiquity religions, it offers the most direct path for overcoming the world. Monotheist religions argue that this desire is rooted in sin, and we are all sinners. They suggest deeper piety and belief, a prescription that does nothing to cure the ills of modern desire. Understanding the purposes religions serve illuminates what a new Messiah must address. Now, Neo-Jesus confronts a paradox. Spiritual transcendence requires structural transformation, but reorganizing society begins with the evolving will of the people. Given the deepening divisions of our present moment, how will Neo-Jesus even begin? Neo-prophets. To better explore this, we label all religions for what they are: spiritual technologies. Whether developed through careful intent or divine revelation, these ways of thinking and acting intend to bring us closer to descriptive visions of divinity. Like any technology, there are different kinds of the same thing, each with their own set of benefits as we've explored. Technology is the driving force of humanity as we understand ourselves today. This is and has always been true. Each new technological and scientific advancement opens doors to many more, some more immediate than others. Everything we manipulate for our use is a technology. Everything around us was brand new in a past moment. The roads, buildings, education, law, religion, all of it stemming from our primary technology, language. Today, we observe chimpanzees using stone tools, existing in a Stone Age. For 3.5 million years of our existence, stoneworking was one of our best technologies, widely considered a transcendent era for humanity. Stone tool technology shapes consciousness just like smartphones. The only difference is the degree of change. It's easy to forget that on a species scale, our technological acceleration is rapid and recent. Every innovation expands with it our ability to experience the world. But now we find ourselves at a precipice. Implantable brain-altering technologies, like Elon Musk's Neuralink, will fundamentally transform what it means to be human. I say will, because it's only a matter of time, Neuralink or otherwise. Those with access and will to use these devices will greatly magnify their intellectual capability and power. Some are looking forward to this moment, others will abstain. There will be divergence. We're talking about a split in humanity so significant in scale that it will fundamentally separate us from ourselves. We're creating a modern Adam and Eve mythos, dividing those entering a higher plane of consciousness and others who remain. Just like eating that fruit, there is no turning back. Mythologist Joseph Campbell lectured about how religion and science used to coincide. The mythos were used to explain supernatural phenomenon, happenings that we classify and document now with science. As our understandings grew with time, they began to contradict the church, leading to a breaking of coexistence. Religious organizations chose to decry science in favor of understandings of the world frozen in time. With our image of the universe greatly changed, ethics and ethos of the past struggle to be relevant. It's not really possible to understand how enhanced humanity will observe the universe, although it's likely to be different from our present trappings. How do these beings interact with one another? Will the enhanced interact with abstainers? If so, how? Our circumstances give us a clue. It's likely that they will look upon unenhanced humanity with the same ambivalent curiosity that one observes a zoo chimpanzee. After all, as the technology develops, the divisions in intellectual capacity will be staggering. Consider that any alien civilization with significantly advanced technologies would be indistinguishable from gods. Is this the inevitable conclusion of divergence? We can imagine the possibility of enhanced humans being benevolent. Here, any enhanced individual or collective can become Neo-Jesus. Perhaps they will solve many of our ecological, legal, and social problems with new technologies and thought, offering the benefits of their abilities to the collective for the purpose of doing good. Fixing our systems is one thing, But how will advanced humans think about death, groundlessness, and insatiability? With each individual's ability to recall and communicate information greatly enhanced, there is no doubt that philosophy will take new forms. Will enhanced humanity bestow transcendent knowledge onto itself and others? Yes, but it may not be what we're looking for. Would we even know Neo-Jesus if we met? There will be many differences between enhanced humanity and abstainers. Most impactful will be the perception of time. Every person alive today is bound to the same universal constraint: linear existence. Our experience of life is one of perpetual forward motion, birth to death, rotations around the sun, fleeting moments of pleasure and pain, all of it only ever being real for a moment before fading into nothingness. Linear progress is why we find ourselves exactly where we are. The enhanced individual transcends linear time. They're not immortal, at least not immediately. But perfect recall gives them the ability to immerse themselves in moments past, present, and possible futures. Think about it like opening a computer file. If you need information, you go find it and you have the exact content every time. Now, imagine being able to totally immerse yourself back to any past moment. With this advancement comes the decay of the time-space that binds us presently. Imagine being able to live two realities, side by side. The ability to experience events from simultaneous perspectives offers new insight currently not available to humanity. Many of us, myself included, struggle to focus on one task. What would it be like to have perfect focus on multiple at the same time? This reshaping of thought opens new possibilities for experience in nearly every direction. Here the enhanced human becomes transcendent, overcoming previously insurmountable obstacles. Grasping humanity's greatest struggles now with the vision and insight beyond any modern individual capacity. Are these enhancements enough to produce Neo-Jesus? If they did, would we even listen to them? We can only guess what Neo-Jesus might share with humanity, but it's likely to be something we already know. Our experience of existing is confined to moments, fleeting glimpses of now, fluctuating between a past we can never revisit and nearly unlimited unknown futures. If Neo-Jesus can transcend these limitations, they would likely come to the same conclusion we can within our limitations. It is the moment that is divine. The time experience is the human experience. There's no separating it. Time as we understand it is a localized phenomenon from our point of view. It encompasses the totality of our experience, all of it jammed into awareness. Yet it is so much more, a universal history of change that forces us to confront our static dogmas. To grant time divinity is to recognize the power of moments. Divinity is not omnipotence or omniscience. It is radical transcendence, to become more than we are. We already know this to be true. Our infinite imaginative capacity to shape the universe springs forth from decisions made in the eternal now. It is a philosophy that addresses Unger's three aspects better than all present ideologies. Giving divinity to the moment coincides with the profound understanding of death. We stop trying to provide answers for our expiration, instead focusing on the enhancement of life. In doing so, we assign immense value to every life, beginning with the most disenfranchised. Collective progress giving genuine meaning and purpose to the participating individual. Societies divining time work tirelessly to ensure the social, economic, and legal institutions they operate within focus on the capacity maximization of the whole. Groundlessness diminishes because the framework of purpose is redefined. We break the mythos that the desire for greater life is a quest for power, a narrative persistently reinforced by the systemic organization of present society. Historical religions place our ultimate reward, heaven, in the future, forever placing salvation outside of our grasp. Time divinity gives purpose to life through moments of transcendence, understanding full well that the most radical change emerges from cumulative small efforts now. Our spiritual connection to time redirects our innate insatiability. We will never overcome the desire to be more, but why and how we do this is subject to change. Recognizing the need for ongoing pursuit of deep freedom, a radical experimentalism of life, and pursuits supported by social, economic, and political organization. This systemic reform breaks us free from the grasp of money as a solution to our want for more, recognizing it as the poor social glue it is. As the cliche goes, the purpose lies within the journey itself. There is no better way to find purpose in effort than to fully embrace the moment. The religious philosopher Alan Watts once asked the question, "What would you do if you were God?" He continued that after all of your debauchery, adventures, exploration, you would eventually get bored. You would then introduce the element of randomness into your life, unknown futures ensuring an interesting experience. Concluding that if you were God, you would be exactly where you are. In your case, listening to this article right now. Divinity of the moment isn't a new or radical idea. It's just one that we presently reject in favor of old dogmas. Neo-Jesus would beg to differ, understanding that our limitations are also benefits if we're willing to grow beyond them. Reject transcendence as a mystical future. Embrace it for what it really is, decisions in the moment. Would we even know Neo-Jesus if we met them? The answer is no, because we already have. Neo-Jesus exists in all of us, manifesting in the self-actualized human who can view circumstances beyond ego and dogma. The person who works for more transcendent living in the moment, knowing that our full value to ourselves and the universe lies within understanding of our power, efforts and effects springing forth from our ultimate reality, the immediate present.